What's going on, Jerome's? Happy Thursday. Birds are chirping and stuff. It's time for another Vikings news dump. So, of course, the story right now, because there isn't really anything else going on, is Netflix receiver documentary dropped. Justin Jefferson starring with four other people. Yeah. But so I talked about how I'm sort of like old man curmudgeon. Like, I kind of wish that the episodes dropped week by week so that we could have the shared experience versus everyone just sort of binging at their own pace. I'm going to take it nice and slow. So I only watched the first two episodes. Well, I skipped the first episode because Jefferson wasn't in it. And then watched episode 2 where it covered everything up to his hamstring injury against the Chiefs. But Jefferson's pretty damn amazing. Plus, there's a great clip early on of where he was challenging all-pro safety Derwin James. Come on, come guard me. And then Derwin, dipped out. Now, we posted this sort of making fun of it, and there's the salty Chargers fan, singular, chimed in, "Oh, Derwin James is a box safety, but you guys don't know football." Because the box safeties never cover receivers, especially guys in the slot one-on-one. Just never happens. Like Harrison Smith's never in man coverage. So stupid. But obviously, part of it is James probably lined up in potentially a bluff look where he was covering Jefferson, and then he stepped up to the line, probably came on a blitz. Chargers probably dropped zone, that whole thing. But it was just funny, man. All right, because Derwin knew he wasn't about that life, and Derwin knows his limitations. And covering Jefferson one-on-one, in a two-way spot from the slot, nah. But it was great to see, too. So Addison was at the premiere with Justin Jefferson, and I don't know, like I love that they're developing a personal relationship as well as a professional one. Addison's talked about how Jefferson really took him under his wing as a mentor last year, especially. So I haven't gotten into Jefferson working his way back from the hamstring yet, but I'm sure that he's just going nuts. And you saw him on the sidelines, too. Like, he was with the receivers. He was with McCardell. He was with Addison. He was talking through things. And he wasn't just the superstar on the sideline just sort of sulking. Like, he was active. He was involved, man. So you love to see that. Also, Addison put out, "I got next." Addison, receiver season 2. That's what it should be. Also, so for season 2, instead of 5, 3, the season is really only about 3 receivers because Debo's a running back, and Debo's not even the best receiver on his team. And then George Kittle's a tight end, whatever. But instead of 5, just do 1. Just cover Jordan Addison, right? Because the Netflix crew, like, they already know their way around the Twin Cities and TCO and all that stuff. Plus, Jefferson can come in as a cameo, like, hey, just like Kurt did in the receiver season. Like, oh, hey, I was on this documentary last year. But seeing Addison coming off a solid rookie season and watching him grow and show into a superstar in his own right, in the shadow of Justin Jefferson, with new quarterbacks, even though he had 4 quarterbacks last year, it'd be kind of good for Addison. Would be good to go. Plus, sort of funny, I missed this, but the Vikings Dutch account posted this photo. It must have been from last year because he was wearing a Timberwolves number 3 jersey. Of course, 3 for Addison. It's not a Stephon Marbury jersey, but I don't know, like Addison, it's like he's recreating the famous Kevin Garnett, Randy Moss picture by himself. Which would be such an amazing thing for Addison to do. Oh, by the way, Anthony Edwards finally getting in. How do you start Devin Booker over Anthony Edwards? I mean, Kerr should be ashamed. He's a national shame. But yeah, Anthony Edwards dominating Canada right now. Even though it's kind of unfair that knows him. But yeah, is what it is. Also is what it is. So Florio, everyone's favorite Vikings fan that's not a thermos, talked about Kirk Cousins and the decision not to bring him back. This is from the Purple Persuasion. Blah, 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 Florio, blah, blah, blah. Quote, "I really do wonder deep down how upset folks inside the Vikings organization were about not bringing Kirk Cousins back. I think some were. I think there were others in the organization that knew it was inevitable and preferred just go ahead and be done with it now." End quote. Now, I'm sure that there was some people who wanted Kurt back. Kevin O'Connell, I'm sure, was one of them, because coaches do have this 3-foot world view about things. And would Kurt, even coming off the Achilles, give the Vikings a good shot to win in 2024? Sure. All right, but an amalgamation of Sam Darnold and the future and J.J. McCarthy, like that more than makes up for it, right? And the Vikings, they had to turn the page at some point. But it's one of those awkward spots where it's like the actual meaning behind Pearl Jam's Better Man. Can't find a better man. It's not so much as like, hey, you're an amazing man. I can't do better. It's more like, can't find a better man. Something like that. But so Kurt got paid from the Falcons. Now, did the Vikings want to do that? Did the Vikings want to pay Kirk Cousins $45 million a year with $100 million guaranteed over 2 years? No, they did not. So I think seeing the forest through the trees, moving on was the right decision, and especially in this deep quarterback class, like you didn't want to be looking to find your future quarterback in next year's class, which is deemed not as good as 2024. Although maybe Shedeur Sanders will get things together, with the watch. Maybe Quinn Ewers. Hey, Arch Manning gets way too much publicity for a guy that wasn't even the backup quarterback for Texas last year, but that's beside the point. But yeah, it was time to move on, and I think everyone's happy. Kurt's got his money. Kurt's wife got to go home to Georgia. Did you know that she's from Georgia? There you go. And the Vikings got themselves a 21-year-old blonde to move on with. That's what we're doing. Also, so the one thing I didn't like about the initial 2 episodes of the receiver documentary is that they sort of painted the Jefferson contract situation and they juxtapose it with the injury, right? So it's like, oh, he wants a new contract because he's worried about injury, then injury, right? So in hindsight now, was that the contract got done, it's whatever. But I didn't like how they edited it and how they portrayed things. But it was kind of a funny line where Kevin O'Connell, BSing during practice when he wasn't yelling at the team. And he goes up, Justin Jefferson, is that necklace new? Jefferson, I don't know, man. I wonder what I would buy if I had that new contract. Now, and then O'Connell had like awkward silence. Now, it was a line that was said in jest, a little bit passive aggressive. Jefferson's learned from us Minnesotans very well. But again, I didn't like the way that they framed it. It's just like, oh, I would have a better necklace if I had my contract. But like I said, it really doesn't matter since the contract got done. Although, imagine if the deal hadn't gotten done and the Vikings and Jefferson were barreling towards a lame duck season or potentially franchise tagging him next year, and then the Jefferson haters and the losers like, oh, he's just greedy, he's a diva, look at this. But now it's just funny in hindsight. Something's also amazing in foresight and hindsight. Keenan McCardell. So McCardell had himself a nice long ass career, almost 20 years in the league. Won a Super Bowl with the Bucs in 2002, and I'll also go back to like the Jaguars, like Keenan McCardell, Jimmy Smith, Fred Taylor in the backfield, Mark Brunell, Tony Baselli when he was healthy. I mean, that was a damn good offense, man. That was really fantastic. But McCardell has developed into one of the best wide receiver coaches in the game. He deserves a crack to be an OC and potentially a head coach down the line. But for now, I'm happy that he's here. And you just see. So McCardell, first off, was at the receiver premiere with Jefferson and Addison, as well as he was over in London with Addison, Blackman, and Metellus. Plus, I don't know, like when they're having like the chicken wing debate, it was kind of funny, man. And of course, when Jefferson got slimed in 2022, like that's just funny, man. But it just goes into the love and respect that the receivers have for McCardell. And what was great too is that so McCardell became wide receivers coach in the final year of Mike Zimmer, 2021. And after Zimmer and Spielman got fired, like it was open season. When Kevin O'Connell came in, he certainly could have washed everyone out, and he pretty much did, except for McCardell. Like McCardell was the only position coach that was retained by O'Connell from the Zimmer regime. And I think a part of it was the receivers went to bat for McCardell. Now, the business is the business, not really their place, but I love how Jefferson and KJ and Adam Thielen all went to bat for their guy, Keenan McCardell. And it's just really friggin' awesome, man. So, again, that's just the love and respect that's in the building. And, yeah, it's just great to see those relationships. Also, so we've been binge watching the All or Nothings behind the scenes Amazon for NFL teams. So it was like the Cardinals in 2015. It was the Rams in 2016, Cowboys 2017. Watching the Panthers right now too, a couple other years. But just behind the scenes and just seeing the personal relationships, especially between the players and the coaches, it's kind of neat to see. Anyways, something that was not neat to see. So of course, one of these engagement farming accounts, All the Right Movies, which is actually really good. But what is the most depressing scene ever? Presumably from a movie, right? But this was rough. So, still stinging from 38-7, 2017 season, but, January 2018, you know what I mean? And everything was lined up for the Vikings. Case Keenum, Minneapolis Miracle, the best defense in the league, Thielen and Diggs, and things were just lined up for the Vikings to be the first team to win a Super Bowl at home, as Minneapolis US Bank Stadium was hosting Super Bowl 52. Now, the Bucs eventually won a Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium during the Rona year, but the Vikings could have been the first, and everything was set up, and it was beautiful, and it was gorgeous. Didn't happen, and the thing that hurt the most was being so close, but also, I just remember it was like the day after the NFC title game, and they removed the Vikings end zone because they had left it up just thinking it could happen, man. And then them having to spray paint it, the Eagles. And also, I'm pretty sure this was the end zone where they ran the Philly special at. Philly. Is just, ugh. That's all, man. Lastly, so another engagement one. Yvette put out, who should be a Hall of Famer from your NFL team but is not as of today? Pretty easy. Jim Marshall, the Iron Man, should be in while he's alive and is able to enjoy it, right? So he was the captain. He was the anchor. I mean, Bud Grant had all the respect in the world for Jim Marshall, so get him in there. Kevin Williams is probably one of the most underrated defensive tackles in the game. Great against the run. He and Pat Williams made the Williams wall, as well as he could get after things as a pass rusher. The pride of Oklahoma State definitely deserves him in the Hall of Fame. And then the pride of the Culinary Academy, Jared Allen, of course. He's been trying to get in on the ballots. He was a finalist last year. It just didn't work out, but Jared Allen eventually should and could begin in the Hall of Fame. And then I just threw one in, Chase Ford. That's just the U being the U. That's right, man. But that's it. That's Vikings news done for this beautiful Thursday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.